Hi friends, welcome to Beautifully Bookish Bethany. Today's video is going to be the setup for my 2026 reading challenge, and I'm doing something a little different from what I've done in the past, but I'm also a little nervous how it's gonna go. I'm hoping it's gonna be a good time throughout 2026, but stick with me and I will get into all of the details. So one big issue that I've been having is my physical TBR has been getting a little out of control. It is very, very large. I did recently go through and read sort of the first few chapters of a lot of books that have been on my TBR for a long time and was able to unhaul some of them to bring that number down a little bit, but I still have right around 450 physical books on my TBR, which I'm feeling especially more nervous about because I'm starting a brand new full-time job in January, and I am pretty sure the number of books that I'll be able to read in a year is going to go down a little bit, and so I need a way to actually clear out all of those backlist books in a manageable way. So here's my plan for 2026. I've seen other people do different versions of this. I think it can be fun. I have chosen 50 books from my TBR, 50 physical books from my TBR across a range of genres. I'm going to gift wrap all of those books. I have 4 different wrapping paper colors that will be coded to the genre or the genre category. And then my plan is by the end of 2026 to try to unwrap and read or DNF all 50 of these books, to get all 50 of these books off my TBR in hopes that this will help me start the process of clearing out stuff that's been on there for a while, get through backlist titles. So I'm going to go through all 50 books. I'm going to show you the books that I have picked out. Settle in. It's going to be a long one. Get a drink, get a snack, and then we're going to gift wrap them. Get them all set up for my reading challenge starting in 2026. One of my children was like, oh, so mom, you need to read like 4.1 something books per month to get through all of them, which is true. So I figure if I can try to read 4 to 5 of these books every month, I will be able to get through them all by the end of the year. That sounds doable, but that means that I have to limit the number of books that I'm reviewing. So that's going to be the tricky part. Can I do it? What do we think? Let me know your predictions for the year. And if you're interested, I will do update videos throughout the year. Should we do little like TBR videos, picking and unwrapping the books that I'm going to read? I feel like that could be fun. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. I will be making less content in the new year, again, with this job, but this is a project I do want to work on. So it might be that we get my TBR reading project, we got my wrap-ups, maybe some quarterly TBRs, and that might be the majority of the content you get from me. We'll see how it goes. Again, I start the new job in January. I am pre-filming most of my January content, so it will just be scheduled to go up, all of my best of the year. I'm filming that now, so you will have that throughout the month of January, but after that, we'll have to see. Anyway, I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's go ahead and look at all of these books. I have them divided up into categories. I have sci-fi fantasy, romance, horror mystery thriller, and other. Other is like historical fiction, contemporary fiction, classics, nonfiction. All of those things will go into other. And maybe, unsurprisingly, my biggest category is sci-fi fantasy. Let's go ahead and start with that stack. And I'll show you all of the things that are getting wrapped up for this TBR project. I will say for the project, I tried to do a mix of longer books and shorter books, so I have some variety, but yeah. First up is The Last Dragoners of Beaubazar by Indra Das. I got this in a mystery novella grab bag from Subterranean Press, and it looks like fun. I'd never heard of it. It's like a South Asian inspired fantasy novella. It's not very long. I want to go ahead and try that. Had to put a Star Wars book on here, and I've had this for a while. Inquisitor: Rise of the Red Blade by Delilah S. Dawson. I really don't know a whole lot about this, but I've heard people like her books in the Star Wars universe, so little sci-fi Star Wars action. A book that I have an arc of from 2023 and shamefully have still not read. Even though I think I'll probably like it, it's just been sitting on my TBR shelf mocking me for the last 2 years. So it is going in this challenge because I'm determined to finally read it. The Djinn-Bot of Shantiport by Samit Basu. This is a sci-fi adventure with heart that reads like a mashup of Aladdin and Murderbot with gloriously chaotic results. It sounds like fun. We're gonna actually get to that this year. A book I was gifted by a patron that thinks I will really like it and I'm excited to try is Voyage of the Damned by Frances White. So this sounds great. I think it's queer. There's a ship, there's magic, it's fantasy. I don't know. We're going to try it this year. There are also a few books on this list where I need to read a book in order to complete a series, and this is one of them. The Lotus Empire by Tasha Suri. This is the third and final book in the Burning Kingdom series. I loved books 1 and 2. This has been sitting on my TBR all year. Have I gotten to it? No. It's like a chunky fantasy. I know I'm going to love it, but she's getting wrapped for the challenge. Similarly, the second book in a duology, we've got A Monsoon Rising by Thea Guanzon. So pretty. Really enjoyed the first one. This is like South Asian inspired fantasy that's based on Raylo loosely. I liked the first book. I want to finish the duology. Another series finisher that I can't believe I still haven't read, y'all, is Mirrored Heavens by Rebecca Roanhorse. Again, I love this series. I'm sure book 3 is going to be great. I have just been putting it off all year. So we're going to wrap it up and we're going to get to it in 2026. I'm not sure if this is the last book in the series or just the second one, but another one that I've been holding on to for a while is Where the Library Hides by Isabel Ibanez. This is the sequel to What the River Knows, which I really enjoyed. It's like YA historical fantasy set in Egypt, doing some really interesting things. I love the main character. I really liked book 1. The Wren in the Holly Library by K.A. Lind. I'll be honest, the cover is what gets me here. It sounds beautiful. Can you love the dark when you know what it hides? Some things aren't supposed to exist outside our imagination. 13 years ago, monsters emerged from the shadows and plunged Kirsa's world into a cataclysmic war of near-total destruction. The New York City she knew so well collapsed practically overnight. In the wake of the carnage, the Monster Treaty was created, a truce of sorts. But tonight, Kirsi, a gifted and fearless thief, will break that treaty. She'll enter the Holly Library, not knowing it's the home of a monster. So I think this is like fantasy monster romance, maybe? I don't know. Maybe this should have gone in the romance category. Either way, we're going to try it out. One of the only books by one of my favorite authors that I have not yet read is Gifted and Talented by Olive E. Blake. This is about magically gifted siblings dealing with, I think, the death of a patriarch and lots of family drama. I feel like I will probably love this. I generally do. It's a longer one, so I haven't read it, but I want to. I like her writing. The next one is technically dystopian, but we're putting it in this category. The Compound by Aisling Rawl. This I got from Book of the Month. I've been hearing really good things about it. Nothing to lose, everything to gain. Winner takes all. So we have Lily, a bored, beautiful 20-something, wakes up on a remote desert compound alongside 19 other contestants on a popular reality TV show. To win, she must outlast her housemates while competing in challenges for luxury rewards such as champagne and lipstick, and communal necessities to outfit their new home, like food, appliances, and a front door. So this sounds interesting. The world is falling apart outside. I do love a good reality show-based thing, but then it's also dystopian fiction. Excited for that. Another duology finisher that I haven't gotten to yet, Rebel Witch by Kristen Ciccarelli. This is the sequel to The Crimson Moth, which I really loved. I thought it was great. This is sort of like upper YA, political romantasy, true enemies to lovers. Book 1 was fantastic. I want to finish it. The Bones Beneath My Skin by TJ Klune. I'm putting, honestly, a lot of books. I'm not doing Book of the Month next year because I'm trying to also put myself on kind of a book buying ban. I don't want to say it too much yet because I'm like, I got to make some decisions about that. But what is this about? I don't even know, to be honest. It's set in 1995. I've got somebody who's like lost his job, lost his family, and he finds someone inside a cabin that should be empty, and these people are not what they appear. Kind of like a sci-fi thing. I don't know. We're going to try it. Another one that will finish a duology is Those Beyond the Wall by Micaiah Johnson. A few years ago, I read the first book in the duology and really enjoyed it. I thought it was interesting, and I want to read the next one. The Space Between Worlds is the first one. It's sort of like a not time travel, but like different realities sort of situation. I thought it was good, so I want to finish that. Another one people keep saying I should read, so it's going on the list, Dragonfall by L.R. Lamb. I don't know much about this. Long ago, humans betrayed dragons, stealing their magic and banishing them to a dying world. Centuries later, their descendants worship dragons as gods, but the gods remember and they do not forgive. We follow a thief. Sounds like fun. Cool. And then lastly, for my sci-fi fantasy list is perhaps one of my most anticipated books on this list that I really want to read, and it is a new one, but I'm putting it on here because I want a reason to read it soon. The Strength of the Few by James Islington. This is the sequel to The Will of the Many, which I absolutely loved, and I want to read this sooner than later, but it's a big chunky book, so I need a reason to read it, so we're putting it in my reading challenge, so that will also get wrapped up. 16 sci-fi fantasy books are getting wrapped. That is the biggest category. Next, we're going to go through romance. These are in order based on size of book for stacking purposes. So we're starting with a couple of mass market paperbacks for romance. Dark Lover by J.R. Ward. This is the first book in a very popular paranormal series. Honestly, I wasn't sure how I would get on with it, but in all of my trying out books that have been on my TBR, I read the first several chapters of this and was pretty hooked, so we're gonna keep going with it. The Madness of Lord Ian Mackenzie by Jennifer Ashley. This was gifted to me a while back and it sounds like fun. Most women heeded the warnings. One woman was tempted by them. It was whispered all through London society that Ian Mackenzie was mad, that he'd spent his youth in an asylum, and that he was not to be trusted, especially with a lady. For the reputation of any woman caught in his presence was instantly ruined, yet Beth found herself inexorably drawn to the Scottish lord. Forbidden romance. I don't know. People seem to like it. It sounds like fun, so we're going to try that out. Sing Anyway by Anita Kelly. This is a queer romance novella with a plus-size heroine and a non-binary love interest. This one I also read the first couple chapters of, and it was super cute, so I want to keep going with that. So that I can finally finish a series, because I've read every book in the series except for the first one, which you can do with romances, but I want to complete it. We've got The Duke Heist by Erica Ridley. This is the first book in the Wild Winchester series. I feel like I know these characters from all the other books, but I want to see their romance. It'll be like reading a prequel. It'll be great. The Princess and the PI by Nikki Payne. This is one that I had pre-ordered and haven't read yet, so I'm putting it on here. An amateur sleuth must enlist the help of a jaded PI to clear her name in this exhilarating romantic suspense novel. I like Nikki Payne. I think it'll be fun. I let one of my kids help me pick books for the TBR, and so I think 3 of them are romances, which I think is really funny. This is one of the ones that they wanted me to read, and they bought it for me for Christmas like a year ago. Jay's Gay Agenda by Jason June. This is a YA gay romance that is supposed to be pretty cute, so we're gonna read that. Another one that I should have read already, and the reason I didn't is that I was gonna go to a book club reading it, and then I ended up not being able to go because my spouse was traveling and I couldn't be there, but we're gonna read it next year. Along Came a Moor by Alexis Daria. No strings, no feelings, no falling in love. It's supposed to be a fling, but it turns into so much more. A book that's been on my TBR for a long time. I read book 1, I really liked it, and I still haven't read book 2, so I'm gonna do it now. Black Moon Rising by Mila Nix. This is an indie paranormal romance with a plus-size heroine. I thought book 1 was really fun. She's a witch. I want to read the next one. A book I was gifted last year in like a holiday book exchange, Morbidly Yours by Ivy Fairbanks. This is a rom-com between an animator and an undertaker. Another one that I read the first couple chapters of and I was like, this is hilarious. I'm enjoying it. I want to keep reading. Then we've got a big chunky book that I want to try because of the hype. Am I sure this will be my thing? No, but we're going to at least give it a good shot. That is Quicksilver by Callie Hart. This is like a dark romantasy from what I know. People seem to love it, although I'm not hearing as many accolades of book 2, but I want to try this. And then the last 2 books were also picks from one of my kids. Violet Thistlethwaite Is Not a Villain Anymore by Emily Krempholtz. Is this a romance or is it just a cozy fantasy? I'm really not sure, honestly, but we're putting it in romance. It looks cute. It's a pretty cover. I think, yes, we can call this a cozy fantasy romance. Guy Shadowfade is dead, and after a lifetime as the Dark Sorcerer's right hand, Violet Thistlethwaite is determined to start over. Not as the fearsome Thorn Witch, but as someone kind, someone better, someone good. The quaint town of Dragon's Rest, Violet decides, will be her second chance. She'll set down roots, open a flower shop, keep her sentient, mildly homicidal houseplant in check, and prune dark magic from the twisted bows of her life. But she ends up falling for the man next door, who is very grumpy to her sunshine. I feel like this will be adorable. Looking forward to that. And then lastly, another pick from my child is How Freaking Romantic by Emily Harding. Another book of the month pick that I got. Beatrice Nelson is a lot of things, feisty to those who love her, combative to those who don't, but most of all, she's the kind of person who will always fight for those she cares about. So when the marriage of her two closest friends falls apart, Bea storms the office of attorney Nathan Asher to tell him exactly what he can do with his divorce demands. Unfortunately, what should end with a few choice words soon spirals into uncharted territory when Nathan shows up at her NYU law office a few days later as a newly minted adjunct professor and her new colleague. It's funny. And then, of course, they fall in love. That sounds fun. That is 12 romances that are getting wrapped up. Next, we're going to do horror, mystery, thriller, and then we will finally go with my sort of miscellaneous other category. First, in horror, mystery, thriller, we've got Mongrels by Stephen Graham Jones, one of his backlist books I haven't read yet, and I've had it for a while. I love Stephen Graham Jones. I feel like this will be good. This one, I think, is his take on werewolf horror. He's a wonderful indigenous horror author. Really enjoy it, so I want to read that. Then I grabbed a couple of books that I bought a while ago and still haven't read, and I was like, you know what? Let's do this now. Bloom by Delilah S. Dawson. When Sweet Romance Turns Deadly. So I want to say this one is sapphic. It's pretty short. Rosemary meets Ash at the farmer's market. Ash, precise, pretty, and practically perfect, sells bars of soap in delicate pastel colors, sprinkles, spackled cupcakes, stacked on scalloped stands, beeswax candles, jelly jars of honey, and glossy green plants. Ro has never felt this way about another woman. With Ash, she wants to be her and have her in equal measure. But as her obsession with Ash consumes her, she may find out she's not the one doing the devouring. Sounds fun. All right, cool. One that I bought several years ago when I did a girls' trip with some of my booktube friends in Nashville. A book I still haven't read. It's a thriller that looks fun. Yes, Daddy by Jonathan Parks Ramage. This is a queer modern gothic thriller about a gay man who moves to New York City to become a successful playwright, but his dreams have stalled. Then he discovers a photo of glamorous Pulitzer Prize-winning playwright Richard Shriver. Convinced Richard could be the stepping stone to the fame he craves, Jonah orchestrates a meeting that sparks a hungry, passionate affair. When summer arrives, Richard invites his young lover to his sprawling estate in the Hamptons. A tall iron fence surrounds the idyllic compound where Richard and his close artist friends throw lavish dinners and parties. Jonah can't help but notice the waitstaff are all young, attractive gay men like him, many sporting ugly bruises. But just when Jonah thinks his fairy tale has come true, he's cast out of Richard's good graces, and a sinister underlay begins to emerge. It sounds very interesting, so I want to read that. Another backlist title from an author I love, The Devil in Silver by Victor Lavelle. I love his work. This is a horror novel that takes place in a mental institution in Queens, New York. I'm sure it's going to be great. He sort of blends like magical realism with horror in these really interesting ways and always has a lot to say. A book that has been on my TBR for years that I haven't read yet and I really want to is Kill Creek by Scott Thomas. So this is a book about horror authors who were invited to spend the night in a infamous haunted house and record their experience, and then things go really wrong. It sounds like fun. Another haunted house story, Killer House Party by Lily Anderson. This is a YA horror novel about a teen girl who throws a house party she's not supposed to inside a haunted house, and what happens? Immaculate Conception by Ling Ling Huang. What if you could enter the mind of the person you love most? This one is really interesting. It's a sapphic horror novel about this like creepily entwined couple and like obsession. I think it'll be good. One that I'm still mad I haven't read yet, and so again, it's going on the TBR for next year, Island Witch by Amanda Jayatissa. This sounds so good, and I still haven't read it. Set in 19th century Sri Lanka and inspired by local folklore, Island Witch follows the daughter of a traditional demon priest relentlessly bullied by peers and accused of witchcraft herself as she tries to solve the mysterious attacks that have been terrorizing her coastal village. Sounds good. Then I have an anthology. This is Out There Screaming, an anthology of new Black horror edited by Jordan Peele. It has Such a great collection of authors to do short stories. N.K. Jemisin, Rebecca Roanhorse, Cadwell Turnbull, Tanana Reeve Dew, Justin C. Key, Nnedi Okorafor, Nalo Hopkinson. I mean, like, this is a fantastic lineup. P. Jelly Clark, Tochio Nyabuchi, and more. I'm really excited. I've heard fantastic things about this collection, so I think that'll be a good time. The Farmhouse by Chelsea Conrad. This is interesting. Every woman who has lived on this farm has died. Emily just moved in. It's about like women going missing basically, and like this house where there's a history of women dying and going missing. Sounds fun. Again, kind of like gothic vibes a little bit. Another book I've pre-ordered and have not read yet that I want to read is Compound Fracture by Andrew Joseph White. He does queer, trans, YA horror. Now he has an adult horror novel out as well that I haven't read yet, but I've loved all of his YA stuff. I don't really even know what this is about, if I'm being honest. I just know that his stuff's really good. Welcome to Twist Creek County. On the night Miles Abernathy, 16-year-old socialist and proud West Virginian, comes out as trans to his parents, he sneaks off to a party carrying the evidence that may finally turn the tide of the blood feud plaguing Twist Creek. Photos that prove the county's Sheriff Davies was responsible for the so-called accident that injured his dad, killed others, and crushed their grassroots efforts to unseat him. The feud began 100 years ago when Miles's great-great-grandfather, Saint Abernathy, incited a miners' rebellion that ended with a public execution at the hands of law enforcement. Now Miles becomes the feud's latest victim as the sheriff's son and his friends sniff out the evidence, follow him through the woods, and beat him nearly to death. And then it like keeps going. Really interesting. So very different from the other two books he's written, but I'm excited to check it out. Another second book in a series. I read the first one and really enjoyed it. The Woman in Suite 11 by Ruth Ware. This is a follow-up to The Woman in Cabin 10, which I enjoyed. I love Ruth Ware's writing, and I got to meet her and get this signed, which was so cool at an event. I've been reading her books for years, so I definitely want to read that one. And then lastly for this category, is it because the sprayed edges are really stunning? Maybe The Ghostwriter by Julie Clark. Look at those edges. That's wild. This looks really interesting. In June 1975, the Taylor family shatters in a single night when two teenage siblings are found dead in their own home. The only surviving sibling, Vincent, never shakes the whispers and accusations that he was the one who killed them. Decades later, the legend only grows as his career as a horror author skyrockets. Ghostwriter Olivia Dumont has spent her entire professional life hiding the fact that she is the only child of Vincent Taylor. Now in the brink of financial ruin, she's offered a job to ghostwrite her father's last book. What she doesn't know, though, is that this project is another one of his lies, because it's not another horror novel he wants her to write. After 50 years of silence, Vincent Taylor is finally ready to talk about what really happened that night in 1975. Very intrigued. So that is 13 horror, mystery, and thriller books. And then lastly, my smallest category is other, which includes a variety of genres. So let's go through those. So in the other category, I only have 9 books. Like I said, this is the smallest one. Some of these actually are books that I'm rolling over from my reading challenge for 2025 that got fully derailed when I started trying to find a full-time job and having work and an internship and all these things that I did. I sort of put that to the side, which is fine, but I am rolling over some of the books that I wanted to get to. The Ballad of the Sad Cafe by Carson McCullers. This is a little small classic novel. I don't remember what this is about. I don't know. It's a short novel published in 1951. Couldn't tell you much about it, but we're gonna read it. It's a pretty book. One that I just barely started, but we'll probably have to go back and reread, so I'm just going to take this out. I read like 30 pages of this book, is Lolly Willows by Sylvia Townsend Warner. This was published in 1926. Again, I don't remember a lot. I think it's partly like a coming of age story, if I'm not mistaken. And then the final classic that was on my TBR for the year is The Bleeding of the Stone by Ibrahim El-Koni. This has been translated, and it is a short novel blending reality, fantasy, and mysticism. Somebody recommended it to me on my channel like a couple years ago, and I grabbed it. It's not very long, so that's going on the TBR as well. Then I've got a few historical fiction books. I don't read a lot of historical fiction, but I've got some on my TBR. Glassworks by Olivia Wolfgang Smith. This looks interesting. It's a queer novel following a family across 4 generations to explore legacy and identity in all of its forms. So different generations grappling with like who they are, who they love. I've met this author. She seems lovely, so I want to read it. Sounds interesting. Another historical fiction is My Name is Amelia de Valle by Isabel Allende. I have only read a short story from Isabel Allende. I think her writing is gorgeous, but this is a new book from her and it sounded really interesting, so I grabbed it. In this spellbinding historical novel, a young writer journeys to South America to uncover the truth about her father and herself. I think it'll be great. I think her writing is beautiful. My final historical fiction is one that actually surprised me. I got this years ago and got it signed actually on the recommendation of somebody who loved it. And then I haven't read it because it's historical fiction and I'm not usually a big historical fiction reader, really not usually a World War II person. It's got time travel. I'm usually not into time travel. So this was one of those books where I read the first couple chapters and was like, I don't know, do I unhaul it? And then I was like pleasantly surprised and was like, wait, actually, okay, this is interesting. Maybe I will read this. The Girl with the Red Balloon by Catherine Locke. So we have a girl who is on a school trip in Germany and she's visiting where her grandfather had miraculously escaped from a death camp, is visiting Berlin. And when she's visiting the Berlin Wall Memorial, she sees a balloon floating across the park and wanders away from the crowd to follow it. One moment she's reaching out to grab it, and the next she's yanked back through time to when the wall is still standing. It's 1988, and Ellie is in East Berlin. Really interesting, and yeah, so I want to read that. Another one that I was like, I don't know if this is really my thing, and then I read the first few chapters and I was like, wait, this is so good, it's beautiful. The Storied Life of A.J. Fikry by Gabrielle Zevin. It's about this grumpy bookseller. I am loving it so far, and I want a reason to continue it. I read like that much of it, so we're putting that on the list for the year. All of these were things that I tried when I was going through my sort of like unhaul process. The last book going on this TBR that was suggested by my child is The Pros of Cons by Allison Cherry, Lindsay Rabar, and Michelle Schusterman. This is like a YA novel about characters who are going to different unusual conventions in the same hotel at the same time. So one of them is like there because she does like fanfic writing. One of them is at like a percussion convention. And then one of them is at the taxidermy championships. It seems entertaining, so we're going to read it. That one's like contemporary fiction. And then lastly, I have one nonfiction book going on my TBR, and this is something that I got in a Secret Santa exchange from a patron last year, and I haven't read yet, but it sounds really interesting. I think I'd be into it. This is Leaving the Witness, Exiting a Religion and Finding a Life by Amber Scora. As somebody who's gone through deconstructing from evangelical Christianity, this sounded really interesting to me, so I feel like it was a good pick. It's about a woman who left Jehovah's Witness, so this is my one nonfiction book. Going on the reading challenge for 2026, and there you have it. Those are the 50 books that I will be wrapping. Let me show you the wrapping paper they're all getting. Hang on. Okay, so I have 4 different wrapping papers that I'm going to use for different genres. So we have Silver Snowflakes for sci-fi fantasy. I feel like the snowflakes give fantasy and the silver gives sci-fi, kinda. It works, right? I've got some red polka dot wrapping paper for romance. We're gonna do this cute little like old school Christmas wrapping paper for horror mystery thriller. You know, forests. There's lots of trees on this. I feel like forests can be creepy. That works. And then lastly, I have a holiday gift type one for my miscellaneous books because you never know what you're gonna get. So let's go wrap these books and then I will show you what we end up with, and we're gonna see how this reading challenge goes in 2026. we have it, all 50 books. Follow along next year to see how this goes. Here we go. Hopefully this was fun. If you reached this point in the video, leave me a present emoji in the comments down below for obvious reasons. Or for your question of the day, let me know if there are any reading challenges you're planning to participate in the new year. Let me know in the comments down below. If you like this video, it always helps if you give it a thumbs up. Subscribe if you want to see more. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.